following show contains adult content. It's not our intent to offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, and welcome to 50 Shades of Bullshit. I'm your host, Christine Lalonde, and this is the podcast where we uncover the truth about online dating. Now let's begin.
Hey everyone, I'm Christine, and this is 50 Shades of Bullshit. And I'll tell you what's 50 Shades of Bullshit right now is that Jada is not back. I absolutely hate starting the show out without her. I struggle with this, but you know, the show must go on. So here we are. So as you can see, Jada's not with me again today. Hopefully soon she will be back. But in the meantime, we have an exciting show for you today. I have a guest that's coming back, but before we get there, you know, at the top of the show, Jada and I typically talk about what's going on, you know, what shows we're watching, what we're doing, things like that. But today, I actually have something really special. I have a listener who wrote in with a problem, with a question, needing advice. And I love that more than anything. So I'm going to read her letter real quick, and I'm going to give her my best solicited advice. Now, she did ask for this, so we're going to give the best we got. Okay. So I find this letter fascinating. And it's actually kind of similar. Some things in her life is similar to mine. And she does preface that in the letter. So let's get at it. So it's Dear 50 Shades of Bullshit. I had the wildest thing happen and I need some advice. I have no idea what to do. A little backstory. I met the love of my life when I was 18 and just leaving home for the first time. And let's just say it was an abusive home that I left. I know from your podcast you have a similar background, so I thought you might be able to help. Girl, don't I know it? Okay. Falling in love when I was 18 with an amazing young man was foreign to me. Neither of us knew what we had, and so life took us in different directions. I've been married and divorced a couple of times and always missed him and compared every man in my life to him. None of them measured up because until I started to heal, I was attracting narcissistic and abusive men. Boy, girl, don't we know that? Yes, you're very similar so far. Long story short, I have always kept track of what he's been doing in his life because his parents stayed in contact with me throughout the years. A few months ago, I was visiting with his parents while I was traveling. They live about 4 hours from me. While there, they surprised me and him by having him meet us for dinner while I was with them. It was the most surreal moment in my life. Everything I ever felt for him came rushing back. He sat next to me during dinner and his body touched mine the whole time. I guess they must have been side by side. And he was even leaning into me by the end of dinner. Okay. Later that evening, he asked me to go on a walk with him so that we could catch up. And we talked about our past when we were together and how it felt like we were reconnecting for sure. When I left, I took a chance and sent him a message saying that I think there is still something there and I would love to find out if there is. And if not, then we have found a friendship. He said he was sort of in a situationship. He alluded to her being convenient. She lives in his town. He admitted he has broken up with her 7 times in 1 year, and they are trying to figure out what they are doing. Wow. Okay. I told him I still have feelings and I think we can find something special together. He said he is not into long distance relationships. He said he struggled with this with his with someone else that he dated, and it didn't work out because he was doing all of the traveling, but he reassured me that it wasn't me. Interesting. I let him know that I am willing to travel to see him as often as he wants during the getting to know each other again stage, and that I can and would be willing to move if there's really something between us. He said he is torn and needs to figure out what he wants. We do text every day. That's promising. But it's because I'm showing up for him. Oh, shit. He responds and does interact with me, but I really need him to show up for me, and he is very conflicted. He makes no sense. Yeah, I read that wrong, but that's pretty much what it is. This makes no sense to me, but I'm trying to understand and be supportive. Girl, I have been the one who has reached out to say hello all the time now. I don't want to be someone else's option. I want to be someone's first choice. I guess I should just stop being available and stop texting him first. I'm afraid he isn't going to choose me. Oh, God, my heart hurts for you right now. I don't like to admit that because I want to be someone's first choice and only choice. He doesn't know me now. He only knows me from the past. I want him to want to know me now for who I am. What do I do? Signed, hopeful but scared. Here's my best advice. I have 3 steps for you. But let me start this out by saying that I know that you're in a really tender place, and it's complicated, and it is completely understandable to feel torn between your love for him and your worth. So I want you to know that you choosing to put yourself first is the most important thing that you can do. And that someone who chooses you without hesitation is what you want. True. So, not someone who like kind of is waiting while they're juggling, comfort and conflict. That seems fucking wild to me. But here's the truth. I wrote this down because I thought about it a lot, and I wrote this down for you. I wrote, you can't make him show up, but you can stop over showing up for him. Okay. You can be open, but also protect your heart. And here's 3 things that I think that can help you. And then, come back and let us know. Try something like 1, sending a clear message that is grounded, saying something like, I care about you. I think there's something really special here, but I also want someone who chooses me fully, not eventually, but now. I'm not here to be an option. I'm here for the real thing. If that's ever something you want with me, you'll know where to find me. So that's maybe something you can say. And then stop texting first. You don't have to stop texting, but stop checking in with him. Don't ice him out with like anger or be upset, but create a space of being open, and either he'll step up or he'll step back. But then you'll know the truth, because the truth will come out at that point. Number 2, reclaim your energy. Start pouring your love back into you. Go dancing, start a new conversation, explore new parts of your heart or new parts of your city. Just get out there, make room to, have him wonder where you are. Okay. So that'll start to happen. And, instead of you putting yourself out there first, let him lean into you. Lean back, let him lean into you. And the last thing I have is believe your own worth. You don't need to compete with convenience. You're competing with convenience right now. And the right person will actually move mountains for you, not settle for what's near. I think that is really important to hear. Okay. You're not asking for too much. You're just asking the wrong person to give more than what they're ready to. He's not ready. He's scared. He's timid. You don't want that. You want a man to step up. And if he does come around later, it should be because he realizes who you are, and fights for it. But in the meantime, hear this. Don't dim your light waiting for somebody else to see it. Okay? So that is my advice. Let's talk about our guest. So, oh, by the way, if anybody has any questions, have any relationship advice, any self-help advice, any manifesting, you let me know. Send me an email. Our email scrolls throughout the show. But just in case, it is 50 shades of bullshit at gmail.com. But shit is spelled SHYT because Gmail is too clean for school, or too clean for me anyway. All right, so let's talk about our guest. Today is part 2 of Circology. A couple of weeks ago, we had Andrea on talking about his app, Circology. And it's a new perspective on compatibility. Andrea is an innovative dating coach with a revolutionary approach to dating, having seamlessly transitioned from a career in architecture to transforming the modern dating landscape with his compatibility dating tool. His unique perspective is shaped by personal challenges and a creative mindset, and offers a fresh take on finding love and understanding relationship dynamics. To learn more about Andrea and his innovative approach to dating and his new dating compatibility app, the Circus Question, he is coming back on now to do the second half with us. And welcome back to the show, Andrea.
Good afternoon, Christine.
How you
Thanks
doing?
for having me back.
Oh,
Thank you, listeners and viewers.
I'm thrilled. Everybody loved the show. It was a great show the last time. People were really interested on what this app was about and how we were relating to what we were doing with, say, like circus. The circus thing that you were talking about, like what are you, whether you're the audience or a circus master or the trainers or whatever. And that was really fun. And I've had fun with it this week, actually.
Great. I'm looking forward to hearing what's happened, really. Yeah, I've had a few DMs from some people that have either caught up with the show afterwards or listened live, asking me a few questions. So it's been quite interesting.
Nice. I love that. So where did we leave off? We were saying that there were choices to make on the app of what you felt like you were wanting to be in a circus or having to do with relatable circus characters. It
might be interesting to actually ask the question again briefly, because there might be new listeners or viewers.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I'll briefly introduce the question. There's 2 parts to the question. The first part is, imagine if you're at a circus. Imagine the lights, the sounds, the smells, the fun, the laughter, the thrills, and the suspense. Now imagine for a moment, if you want to close your eyes, obviously, Kristen, you've done this before. Imagine for a moment, if you were one of the acts or performers, which act or performer would you be and why? Now, the reason we ask that in 2 parts is the first part is conscious location. For example, if I asked you to imagine a beach, you're not going to imagine a beach with snow and ice on it. You're going to imagine a blue sky, white sand, yellow sand, whatever, and a bikini probably, and the typical holiday vision of a beach. The same with a circus. So we create the image. That's your conscious location. The second part, unconscious selection, is where your mind goes to imagine what you could be, not what you can do. So if you ask the question, if I asked you the question directly, Christine, what would you be in a circus? That would make you make a decision based on what you can do, not what you can imagine you can do. And that wouldn't be your truth.
Right.
That wouldn't be the truth what we're looking for. We're looking for unconscious selection, because the analogy works as a tool to unlock compatibility. And the compatibility we want is the one part you are, your choice, your role, which was ringmaster last week, 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And by identifying your role, you can then identify your compatible role of the person who's ideal for you in a relationship.
Right.
Okay. Now, with a ringmaster, we discussed this. You can pick anybody, but we've numbered things so it'd make it easier for you to identify the zone that you're really looking for.
Right.
And you said you want somebody that controls you 2 weeks ago.
In
you
a
said,
sense,
I'm looking for a man
who's stronger.
who controls me.
Yes.
Yes. And I said, I think from what you've said, we identify that you actually need support.
Yes.
You still need control for yourself, your career, your persona. I'm similar to you. I'm a ringmaster, and I cannot work for someone else. I need to be my own boss. That's how I am. I haven't worked for anyone since 1989. I've been an entrepreneur and a businessman and whatever. And I think you're similar. We're multifaceted. We're able to juggle different balls, do different careers, do different, different lovers. We can be polyamory quite easily. The fact is, what suits you and what you can manipulate, and you're a manipulator, by the way. The ringmasters are great manipulators. We can talk ourselves into a situation. The problem with that is that we often try to put a square peg into a round hole, which has been our downfall, mine as well. I've had loads of relationships and they failed because of that reason, because I feel I can make my partner be the best partner that I want them to be. And the reality is we should be co-selecting. I'll come back to that term later on. Co-selection is the key ingredient here. So I identified that you need support. To be the best version of you, you need support. And that support is strength, because it empowers you in a strong way to be the best version of you. And it can be masculine. Even though we're looking at the bottom end of the scale, if you remember the diagram, where the top end is masculine, the bottom end is feminine, and the masculine leads and the feminine likes to be led. So the numbering 9 to 1 is indicative of that power dynamic. And it's a healthy dynamic, because the lion tamer is a 9 and the lion is a 1. And of course, the lion is a strong animal. Yeah, and the circus is strong.
The lion's not weak at any point. Right.
No, the lower the number doesn't mean weakness. It's got its own strength. Yes, they're more supportive down that end. The control at the top is just direction. So the lion tamer directs and the strength follows. Okay. But as I said last week, at the back end, the lower numbers often are support, and they control the relationship in a strange way. A bit, as I said, I gave the example of a child crying, but a dog wagging its tail. It's another example. The tail doesn't wag the dog. We know that phrase, don't we? But you know, in a relationship, in a traditional relationship, we often say that the man is the strength. He's the head of the family, but the woman turns the neck. She turns the head. And that's the phrase that we're looking for. That the lower the number doesn't mean they're weak, because it's still a partnership. 9 and 1 is still a partnership, just like 5 and 5 is. Okay. So on that scale, and that was the diagram that I showed you last week, 2 weeks ago. And you can get that. That's on the app, by the way. That's on the paid section of the app. And that gives you all the figures and all the dynamics and the relationships that you can relate to if you are one of those numbers. And I'm a 7, you're a 7, we're ringmasters. And that identifies that we need a 3, or that zone, to complete the 10, the perfect 10. So I've kind of summarized where we were 2 weeks ago.
Great.
How much fun have you had with it?
It's been fun. I mean, I've like been asking all my friends, and you know, I've still, are friends with some people that I dated in the past, and so I wanted to see, what they were, and then it really falls into place. It really was starting to make sense and to match up, and it was a lot of interesting ways that you could see with the dynamics of certain characteristics of each thing that you broke down in the app, how interesting that compatibility really started to show up.
Yes, it's the primary
Mhm,
focus
mhm,
that you see in those traits, because as we said,
mhm.
with the character traits in the app, it's giving you the positive traits in a healthy relationship and the negative traits in an unhealthy relationship, and we can see those when we've been in past relationships. For the the lady that sent you the letter and the email, should I say, I agree with everything you said, by the way, as a relationship
Thank
coach, dating coach. Great advice.
thank you.
But I always do say they're exes for a reason.
Mhm.
So I would never
Yeah.
go back.
Mhm,
But the red flags are there for her to see. Maybe she should get hold of the app, ask him the question, ask herself the question, and
mhm,
see, because you can identify the cracks. You can see the cracks in the relationship that were there before.
mhm.
Obviously, people evolve, you see, because if she'd asked this question a few years ago, she might have been a different answer. It may have been a
Mhm.
different answer, because
Exactly.
you can only be where you are now. So 2 years from now, you might not say ringmaster. In fact, you said elephant, tightrope walker, elephant trainer, tightrope
A foot
walker,
trainer, type of
ring
rocker.
mistress,
Mhm. Mhm.
or
Mhm.
ringleader. You said. So
Yeah.
those three things are evolution. So that's the elephant trainer was you really wanted control.
Yeah,
You
in my
really
younger
tried
days,
to control your relation. Yes.
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 Mhm.
So that would be where you were, where you've
Mhm.
evolved to. And you said, and when you explained the session last 2 weeks ago, it became apparent that you're more in your tightrope phase. And I think you're going
Yeah.
to your ring mistress. You are
Yeah.
multifaceted. You can do more than one thing, and that is perfect for ringmaster. And you
Mhm.
are a manipulator because of the way you are able to. I don't know, manipulate can be good, by the way. You're able to sell things. You're able to convince people. Same for you, Rebel, by the way. That this goes for anyone that's a ringmaster. I mean, I can con people if I want to, but luckily I'm a good guy, and you're a good guy.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you've got to be careful with ringmasters because they can sell you bullshit. So be careful.
Yeah, I I did ask somebody that it didn't work out with in the past, but I still know him acquaintance-wise, so I sent him a quick message and said, "Hey," and asked the question, and, he said, "Ringleader," and he was the one that was, I think after the show, I told you about him that I was interested to know what he was because
Yes.
he was Italian from Italy, not from here, from Italy, and he is a real dominating, persona, but he was very needy. Like we
Mm.
didn't work out because he expected me to step up and be the one to reach out every day and be the one to lead. And I was like, you just
Well, did you
he
not
said
say
he
he
was a
was trapeze?
ringmaster. What's that?
Did you not say he was trapeze? I'm trying to remember now. I think seem to remember the conversation. It may be someone else.
That was somebody
You
else.
did tell me
That
an
was somebody else.
example. Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. He
okay.
was ringmaster, which I found interesting, but I did talk to somebody who was my most compatible, and he said he was the trapeze,
Yeah,
and not the catcher, the flyer.
the flyer. Okay, interesting. Remember, I gave that example in the show 2 weeks
Mhm.
ago. A
That's
friend of
what
mine who
stood
said he
out
was in
to
a
me.
sparkly. Did he say sparkly outfit?
No. No. He
Because
just said he
that's
wants to
that's the
be the one to
feminine role.
fly.
That's the traditionally feminine role. I mean, I'm not saying you won't get that in the gay circus, but usually
Right.
it's the woman that lets go. She's usually smaller in frame, and the stronger man is catching her. But but that's interesting, isn't it? Because
Mhm.
you would.
Mhm.
Why did he pick that?
Because he liked the idea of flying and doing these like big, like aerial type,
Yeah. Well, that's the
flowy
power of
things.
unconscious for you.
Hmm.
That's the power of unconscious, because there's no logic in a sense. When you
Hmm.
sit back and analyze it afterwards, you kind of figure it out. But at the time, people say to me, I'm an elephant. And I say, well, you're obviously not an elephant. not even in shape, but you're not an elephant. And they say, no, I'm not. But why? Yeah, I just like the grace of an elephant and swinging their trunk and whatever. And they're, I don't know, they're a dancer, they're a professional dancer. Like you said, I'm a fortune teller. You didn't go there, did you?
No, but
Your mind should have taken you there straight away.
I'm always, these are never far from me.
There you go. But when you read the notes for fortune teller, there's a kind of a similar kind of overlay with ringmaster.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, with you're in tightrope evolution to ringmaster phase right now. People that pick more than one act are evolving. And I said this after the show, that 75% of men pick 2 or more. 75% of women pick 1. So it's the 25% of women pick 2 or more, 75% of men pick. So it's a 3-to-1 ratio. And that's interesting. And I figured out that basically the phrase that he hasn't grown up yet applies to that, because to men in particular, to that masculine essence of, I'm not sure what I want to do yet with my life. So they're evolving. They're either there and evolving too, or they have evolved from there to that position. And you can only identify that when you ask them the why, and you also look at the traits. So that's your window to their personality. I saw that.
I
ribbon
love it.
dancer.
Yeah. So let's do this one. Misty said, would it be wrong if I wanted to be a clown? Oh, hell no, Misty. Tell her what a clown is and what number that is and why it's amazing.
Just so people know, underneath my name there, the circusquestion.passion.io, if you type that into your web browser or into your phone browser,
yes,
you'll get access to the app again.
I'm going to read it.
Have a look at. Yeah.
Yep. It's the circus-question.passion.io. So check that out. All right. So let's go back to Misty.
Right, Misty. So where was the 1 minute? You said ribbon dancer, but then
that's after. That's a different person.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll get to.
Sorry, Mickey. Sorry.
Yeah. We'll go to Mickey after
Okay.
Misty.
Misty, if I quickly look it up so that I can actually be more accurate, I can tell you briefly what a clown does, and you may relate. You like to be in control of your relationship, so you need to have that control. It's very important to you. And clowns are very good at masking. They put a mask on, a face to the world. They look happy, but there's a deep pathos, a sadness behind the mask. They hide it very well. That's what they do. So it may be that you are the big character to the world, but deep down you're burning inside, or you are just very good at hiding your emotions. Equally, clowns look for adoration. They want to be loved. Their ideal partner is the audience. So they're an 8.5 on the scale of 9 to 1. And their perfect partner is the audience at 1.5. Okay. And the numbering system is basically to create the 10. If you're within the zone of 2 or 3 above or below a 10, it can still work. Okay. But audience is your ideal partner, because clowns want the adoration, love. They want the love to give it back. And they often give that love. They're very expressive. So you imagine the clown and the way they are. Does that resonate with you? Can I give you?
Yeah, I was going to say, Misty. Does that sound about right for you? Does that resonate? While we're waiting for Misty's answer, Mickey said, "Is there a ribbon dancer?"
Yeah, the ribbon dancer. You see, aerial silks. I have to create a generic list, A to Z list on the app. There's a 50 plus, acts, performers, sideshows in the circus, including the ticket seller, the popcorn sellers, the circus activists. They're an act. In fact, when I say act, they're a role, and they're important because they identify that person's need to be right. They're quite righteous. They follow their emotions. They're climate changers. They're they fight for animal rights. They don't want animals in a circus. I get people furious at me sometimes for even mentioning a circus. I haven't said that you have to pick an animal. And in fact, most circuses in the Western world are animal free. Cirque du Soleil is a circus. So there's no abuse going on if you don't want it. So it's interesting. I got a matchmaker recently, wrote back to me, and she said, I find it really interesting that you've picked something that shouldn't be topical at the moment, because it's really abusive.
Why the hell not?
Hang on a minute. Where's the abuse? Who told you to pick an animal a trainer or anything like that? But it's where our imagination goes, and it helps you identify red flags. The whole point of this is quite serious, and I will get back to you, Misty. It's very serious because we're identifying a number of things here. Compatibility is the key. And compatibility in the power dynamic is important to help you avoid toxicity. That's the whole point of this question, is identifying the red flags before they happen. So if you're mismatching, run. Do not go there. I'm not saying don't test the water, because at the end of the day, you've got the app. The app is there in your hands. You can see the red flags. Date the lion tamer if you shouldn't be dating a lion tamer. If you're a lion tamer, don't date another lion tamer. If you're a clown, don't date another clown, because you'll be fighting for each other's adoration. You need to be supported passively and adored. If you're straight, you need to be adored by your man and elevated that position, what makes you feel comfortable. This is the dynamic you need. Maybe not what you want, but often we want what we, I gave you a few analogies last time, but often we want something that we think we want. The reality is, until you've got what you need, you don't realize you needed it all along. I mean, I use this analogy when I'm coaching sometimes. If you didn't know what chocolate tasted like, how could you describe it to somebody?
Good question.
Once they've tasted it and understand what you're on about, right? So if I said to you, would you like some chocolate, Christine? You've never had it before in your life, and you look at it, it's brown, and you're like, oh, no, I don't really fancy that. But it's delicious. Yeah. I'm not sure for fact, but trust me, you will want it and need it afterwards. You know what I mean? Anyway, it's a bad analogy, but
no, I love
let's
it.
Go back to Misty. It kind of makes sense, does it? You're not Gemini,
Misty said
by the
yes.
way, are you, Misty? You're not a Gemini, by the way, are you?
Let's find out if Misty is a Gemini.
Be funny, because often Geminis are clowns. Just so happens.
Interesting.
May not be in your case.
Because of the dual face
thing.
mask.
It's the relationship. It's not that it's bad. It's not a bad thing, by the way. Being the clown is not a bad thing. It just it is your truth. The same with bearded lady. The same with strongman.
Anastasia asked how about fat lady? What is and we need to let Mickey know what ribbon dancer is.
Okay, right. The ribbon dancer, because it's generic, I've got aerial silks, hoop gymnasts. That that'd be the dancers that are dancing with the ribbon. Are you dancing up high, or are you down low on the ground? Because it's slightly different.
Ribbon dancers are the ones that are on the floor.
She's totally on the floor. Okay, so
I think so. If I'm wrong, Mickey, tell us.
So you just be a dancer, okay? Not just a dancer, but your positive traits. As I said, I've got the app: graceful, elegant, passionate, invested, energetic, enthusiastic. These are your positives. Creative, imaginative, poised and composed, dedicated, committed, inspirational, motivating, skilled performer. Yeah, obviously.
Aerial ribbon.
Well, aerial. Okay, well, aerial.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go
off
back
the ground.
It's similar. It's not. There's an element of risk involved. That's the difference in that relationship. Someone that's elevated enjoys a bit more risk in a relationship. Okay, that's the primary thing that's different. So most of those things apply. You're quite strong, supportive, nurturing, and supportive. Yeah. And you enjoy an element of risk. That element of risk can turn into a negative if you're in an unhealthy relationship, because you take the risk further to the point where it actually destroys the relationship.
Ooh.
That can happen. your I'll get to fat lady. Your love language is quality time. The Errol
Mickey.
Silks.
Mm-hmm.
Quality time. And like I said, like we discussed last time, I believe although there's 5, I do think that the primaries can overlap a little bit. It's a spectrum. But exactly like the Circology is a polarity spectrum where
Right.
we all sit in different, areas. For me to elaborate here, somebody asked me online, actually, they said to me, well, what if the woman is the lion tamer? Yeah. What if the woman is the lion tamer? Her ideal guy, if she's straight, would be the lion. And the answer is yes. He'd be the supportive gentleman who basically does everything for her and adores her, and he passively supports her, and she's the star. And I'll give you an example. Queen Elizabeth, the Queen of England, Philip was the lion, the supportive husband who did everything in his power to elevate her. Reluctantly or not, he did it. That was his role. And that's a good analogy. And we often think, well, he's a doormat. Well, he's not a doormat to her.
No.
Yeah?
Exactly.
But that suited him. It wouldn't have suited me or you, but it suited him. And that's how that dynamic works. And as long as it works, who cares? You said that was right for you, the ribbon dancer.
Mickey said right, very right on. We have bearded lady or fat lady. That's it. Fat lady.
Fat lady. Okay. Well, I haven't specifically fat lady with bearded lady would go into the same generic. So if you pick something and you look at the list and you think, well, he hasn't got fat lady, well, okay, I may add that later, but it's generally in the show, it's the bearded lady, as in the show, the Greatest Showman. The bearded lady now, or the fat lady, right? It doesn't necessarily follow that you are, and I'm going to ask you the question: are you big? Is that why you relate, or are you?
Why do you, Anastasia?
Yeah,
why do you relate
why?
to the fat lady, or why would that appeal to you to be that? While we wait for her answer, we have Charles says that he is a large cat trainer.
So a large cat, that would fall under the category of
and then later he says big cats.
Lion tamer, tiger tamer, Black Panthers. I've had all the different cats. The cats and lion tamer are the same thing. What's your why there, Charles?
Yeah, I'm curious as to why. And I'm also curious, Charles.
The why reveals, when you're asking someone who's a potential date, the why reveals the intensity, especially for the lion tamer. I'm taking it that Charles is a gentleman. I'm taking it that Charles is a good guy. But, your narcissistic, toxic lion tamer is going to reveal the why with, I'm going to tame the beast and I'm going to whip her and da, da, da. And you're kind of like, you're sitting there. If you're not a lion, well, if you are a lion, I'd run. But, if you're not a lion, I'd be a bit worried. What are you saying there, Charles?
I'm actually curious if Charles is in a relationship and what his partner's is, if maybe the partner isn't a cat. Charles says, I love cats. I would never treat them badly. Oh, I love that.
There you go. I said this last time that often, that's why. That reveals that you're not an unhealthy lion tamer. And that would, I'm not saying you date someone who's a lion tamer, Christine, because that wouldn't suit you. They still want control. Is that right, Charles? You want to lead the relationship. Will you feel comfortable? One of the things with lion tamers, their negative traits are insecurity, jealousy, and lack of control. Now, if you haven't got control, in other words, if your partner doesn't listen to you and follow your instructions, and that includes dressing up inappropriately to go out, and causes you to become insecure because they've got their boobs out and they're going out in a short skirt, and you're like, oh, I don't like the idea of other men looking at you, kind of thing. The lion tamer becomes insecure and it becomes toxic.
Interesting.
So they need ringmaster.
Wife is ringmaster. Interesting.
Okay. Well, that's a total of 16. You must be navigating the relationship by compromising. And this is the thing. I
That's a big
often
number.
speak to couples, and often parties or functions, and if they're not an ideal match, I often find out why they're not an ideal match and how they've navigated the conflict. Because look, Charles, I'm not going to get into your relationship right now, but if you look at your traits, your positive and negative, and you look at Ringmaster's positive and negative, you will identify where you conflict, and how you've navigated those will be the clue on how you've made it a successful relationship. If you break up with that person, or if that's a person is an ex, you will also be able to see the red flags that broke the relationship. So with you, Christine, if you spoke to exes, or
almost all of them are saying
conflict with,
almost all of them are saying Ringmaster.
Well, do you know what? That's really interesting, because on this show we've probably had 3 or 4 Ringmasters, and they're quite rare. And it's not because they are rare; they just are rare. And I'm talking in tens of thousands now. Okay, over 15 years. Clients will come back to me and say, "I need a Ringmaster. I can't find one." So there you go.
My God, I have a list of them. If y'all need them, I got them. Oh, Anastasia said, I look up to my cousin, and she's heavy.
Wow. Okay.
I'm going to show her when I get home.
Is she your cousin?
Yes. Easter ain't going to be pretty for you.
Heavy. You're not heavy. She's joking. She is definitely pulling a jokester on that one. I love that Charles says, I don't know why she puts up with me, but we've been married for over 20 years. I actually really love that. You guys obviously compromise and you respect and love each other, and it works for you. I love that.
Listen, no relationship is perfect, and even this system isn't perfect. Okay, there is there's fluctuation here and there. We're all unique. But what I'm trying to do is identify the red flags. More than anything, is identify toxicity and avoid it. Everything else can work. You can. I have this saying. I think selfishness is important in a relationship, but important at the beginning. So be selfish. Find someone who's being selfish as well on the other side, and then match up and compromise after you've agreed on what selflessness you're going to agree on. Do you understand? For example, if you are bloody minded and you don't tell the person, and it comes out once you're married, or you're stubborn and they haven't realized, that can crucify a relationship. So, be honest and say, look, I want to control the relationship. This is me. I'm a lion tamer. And if you don't like it, then jump ship now. Save yourself the heartache, because it doesn't work for either partner. This is why co-selection is important. When you're dating, we need to become accustomed to choosing a partner for us, but choosing for them as well. So we need to take responsibility to actually think about the other person, think, am I good for them? Just as much as are they good for me? We're often, I've done it. I dated exactly like this. I want that girl. She's hot. Wow. And I'm going to make her mine. I did not think about, am I the right person for her? I'm a perfectionist. I'm bloody minded. I like control. A lot of negatives. I'm very critical. It takes a very special person to put up with that. Now, somebody who's at the top end of the spectrum is not going to put up with me. A lion tamer, 1, I don't want to be controlled. 2, they're going to want something I can't give them. I can't give them that support, because I need to be supported myself. I want someone who's going to look after my needs. Yeah. So a lion tamer wants to be looked after. That's the reality. They crack the whip to be looked after. It's selfish in itself, but if that's the dynamic that suits you, grasp it with both hands. Charles, do you like that dynamic where you're in control, or want to be in control? And do you become jealous easily with the wrong person? I'm sure the wife doesn't do this, because ringmasters are very good at manipulating and becoming the person that the other partner needs. I've been in a lion tamer ringmaster relationship where she was definitely a lion tamer. She tried to control me. I ran away. It didn't last.
I bet if I asked my ex-husband, my youngest daughter's dad, I bet you $1 million that if I asked him, he'd say lion tamer. He's
just look at the list. Just look at the list and look at the positives.
Everything on that list for
and look at the negatives, and then his negatives will match your negatives, because your negatives come out when you're in a toxic relationship.
Yeah, we were volatile together.
Well, obviously, yeah, exactly.
Oh,
I'm gonna talk about fat lady.
Charles did say, I do get jealous easy, and I'm not the one, and I am not the one to be in charge. Did he say charge? Yeah, okay. His wife is in charge. Yep.
Look, the bottom line is, I'm a 7. My wife's a 4. My wife is in charge. Okay.
What is your wife?
I like to be in control.
No, what is your wife?
She chose to. She's solo trapeze into contortionist. Okay. And contortion is when you get into that tight shape, into that ball, and you get into, say, a box, and she had trust issues. That contortionist gets into that and won't get out of that shape until they're actually trusting. So if you put them in a box, for example, she goes and contorts herself into a box, and I close the door, the partner, she will only trust the partner to be part of her relationship if she trusts them completely. Now, interestingly, she's a Cancer, a crab. She lives in her shell. So that's her star sign as well. Interesting, isn't it? And when that came out, I said, you like to live in your shell, don't you? And she's very habitual. She loves her home. Well, we love our home, but she loves her home. She doesn't care for going out. She's not interested in. She'd rather be a homely person, a homemaker.
You know what I find fascinating? I asked somebody what they were, and they said ringmaster, and they're a Cancer, and they're very indecisive, have issues, Interesting. I find that fascinating.
Going back to Charles, if I analyze this further, and I discussed it with you further, Charles, I'll probably identify where you want to be in control, but you like the fact that your wife is control. Look, ringmasters can be anything. They can be as bloody minded and stubborn and as controlling as a lion tamer, and they can be the audience if they need to be. Because they are the one that introduces the acts. So they know them very well. And the way we manipulate is we're able to talk the person into being the best version of themselves. That's how the act works. Ringmaster introduces the clown, get on there, get on stage and be your best version, and the same with the other acts. So they need to be diplomats. Your wife is very diplomatic. So she may give you the impression she's controlling you, but she's identified the fact of what you need, which is very clever. 20 years. That's great. Who am I to argue?
Right. Right.
Who am I to argue, eh? Well done. Going back to fat lady very quickly, but fat lady, bearded lady, same thing. Right. Was it Mickey or was it Misty? I can't remember which person picked fat lady.
Charles says, I'm not the one in charge. I'm not the in charge type. I just sit back and do. She would love for me to be in control. Yeah.
Okay. Well, interesting. Yeah.
We've only got less than a minute.
Getting the best out of you, Charles.
Right. So you were just going to say something about the fat lady for Anastasia, because we are almost out of time.
Yeah, the fat lady. Look, bearded lady, fat lady. You are very isolated. You feel very isolated. In relationships, you struggle to accept that you are worthy. That's generally the interpretation there. You are larger than life. You make yourself larger than life to be accepted, not just by society, but by your partner. And you're very good at hiding the pathos, the sadness in the thoughts of, I'm not worthy enough. So you sabotage relationships because you feel you're not worthy enough, but you are worthy. And your ideal match, by the way, is audience. You want to be loved and adored.
Oh,
so that's really important.
I'm curious if that rings true, Anastasia.
Look it up on the app.
Right. I'm so sorry. We are literally out of time. Oh, she says I am shy. Okay.
There you go.
There you go. I
There you
love
go.
that. So, thank you, Andrea, for coming back again. I love having you on the show, and everybody is super responsive. One of the messages a second ago is this is so fun. And anytime you want to come on the show to talk about your app or talk about anything else, you are having a standing invitation to be here. So
Great.
please come back. We love you.
Love to do it. Yeah.
Tell us real quick.
Get your messages in.
Right, get your messages in. Quick question for you: when is the app going to be up and ready?
We're beta testing at the moment, so what you're seeing is a web browser link.
Okay.
For direct to consumer.
Okay.
It will be in the app stores hopefully in the next few months.
Okay.
But you still can get the app and use it. When I say app, the link, and it works just like a phone on your phone and on the. But you can get hold of me on my website, circology.life.
Awesome. Anybody have any questions or have comments? You're welcome to reach out to Andrea yourself. You can also reach out to us and I'll connect you. Any questions or comments, send them on. We love it. And Andrea, thank you again for being here. I really, really appreciate you. This has been a blast. And to everyone who came and participated, I fucking love you. We're back next week, same time, same place. And until then, let's keep this shit real. Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends, like and follow us on Instagram at 50 Shades of _bullshit and Facebook at 50 Shades of Bullshit. Thanks so much for listening, and we really hope to see you again next week.